There we go. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Well, Mayor Katie, welcome back on Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. It's finally warm out.
Yeah.
So why not, bring out all the bright, summery colors and everything in the office today, right?
Yeah, we're trying every day.
Yes, because obviously the stresses, the pressures that come with the job, you got to have the good stuff around you.
Yeah, always.
And I mean, that's especially true when it comes to water because
What
else are we going to talk about right now?
PFAS has become my entire personality.
Yeah. And in fact, I was actually texting with Bob Haig at WRN, who had spliced up some of your comments from Madison earlier this week. You were in Madison testifying about PFAS, and he accidentally auto-corrected PFAS to pizza.
Oh, I wish it was pizza.
So, that certainly caught my attention. And yes, we wish we were dealing with pizza, but no, PFAS.
Not.
So I guess first off, just tell us what you were in Madison for earlier this week. What is it that the Wausau could be getting out of the proposal in Madison right now to spend a few $100 million on PFAS remediation?
Right, so you will recall that the budget contains in it $125 million to go for PFAS remediation. However, they didn't kind of delineate how that should be spent. So on Monday, the Senate Natural Resources Committee considered Senate Bill 312. They've done more than 12 this year already, this session. So that one is the trailer bill that goes along, and it kind of talks about how the funding should be allocated. And there's a lot of really interesting things in there that would help Wausau a lot. But I wanted to go in there and give a perspective from our community, since we're a little unique in the PFAS sphere. Every single one of our drinking wells was contaminated. We're trying to get ahead of all of this, and so I wanted to make sure, that Wausau would be able to get some reimbursement from this bill, since we're spending a lot. I wanted to make sure they understood that the needs-based allocation would be better for us, since our need is a bit greater than some of our neighbors. But I'm sure there are neighbors that we have around the state. Their need might be greater than ours. So instead of delegating equal parts, I advocate for needs-based. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the DNR's relationship with the city during this whole time, because some of the language in that bill would be kind of taking away authority or not allocating the staff that they would need to put a program like this together. So I wanted to say, this is what we need. We really need the DNR to have the staffing to ensure that they can get the money out the door as quickly as possible to communities who need it. So a couple different things. And after I came back, I talked to our council president. So on Tuesday, we'll have the city council vote on a resolution supporting SB 312. So we can send that to our representatives. I sent all my testimony to them already.
Sure.
But this conversation is ongoing, and we want to make sure we're a part of it.
So what I'm hearing is we still don't know what this bill is going to mean for Wausau, because obviously you see something like $125 million for it statewide, and you think, we've certainly have to be at the front of the line to get a good share of that money, but right now that's still up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, as they continue with the state budget negotiations, which, big news on that front. So it sounds like that money will be allocated, and this bill is going to the assembly at some point here. So I think this is going through, but we just wanted to have our fingerprint on it and make sure that our legislators knew where we stand. And our state senator is on that committee, so he was able to hear what I had to say along with all the others who testified. It was a long day of testimony.
Yeah, indeed, and again, it's been a long road to get to this point as well. As you mentioned, big news with the budget. We'll get to that in just a bit, but first, before that, lead pipe ordinance. I know there was some discussion about that this week at the Waterworks Commission level, including more discussion on whether an ordinance is coming or not. Where are we with that?
Well, so the ordinance isn't really being discussed right now. But we talked about what do we do if we have people who don't want to participate, but we want to get all those lead pipes out. So, it's still kind of in the backs of our minds, but we're trying to get there without having to have that, that stick. We would rather have the carrot. So that's where we're moving right now. So that's where we're at. And we voted to continue the RFQ process so we can replace all those pipes a lot faster.
Right.
Well, I'm trying to get it out of my mouth. My brain is moving a little faster than my mouth today.
Yeah, and so this year I know there's going to be a few hundred.
Yep.
And we're still kind of in the test phase as
Yep.
to how this is going to work.
Yep.
When we do get to, I believe it's 2025 or 6,
Yep.
where the bulk of that plan would go to implementation.
Right. Yeah. So the test that we're doing this year, we held neighborhood meetings, we've knocked on doors, we've had translations, we've done a lot of things to ensure that everybody in those affected streets who has those lead pipes knows that we can replace them, and here's a huge grant for you to do so. So we've got a lot of buy-in from that. So I think it's going to be successful, but we won't know until the end.
Right. And again, for those of us that don't know if
Yep.
we have a lead pipe in our house, maybe you're
Give us a call.
Or maybe you're like me, where you're just operating under the assumption that you do,
Yeah.
even though you don't actually know.
Yeah.
How is the city
Yeah.
going to be handling that process to let you know, hey, you do have one of these, here's when
Right.
you might be up for replacement or be up for these grant dollars?
Yeah, so what we do is we kind of pair that project alongside the road repair projects. So if we're fixing the road in front of your house and we know you have a lead pipe, we'll knock on your door and say, hey, we're going to be fixing our lead service line. You have the opportunity to capitalize on some of this. We'll replace your meter, we'll replace, your piping, but, we have to invade your home for a little bit and do this, and your yard and all of that. And so, there's been some pickup, when they did that in front of my house when I was living with my parents, because that's when theirs was replaced. It was a process. It was one heck of a process, but it's good to have it gone. They haven't done that to my house yet. And I live in a house that was built in 1915. So the likelihood that I have a lead pipe is very high. So, we run the water, we run it through a filter, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So for most people, this is still, we're still at the point where this is a few years away.
Yeah, we've got about 8,000 left to do. So if you have a question about it, definitely call our water department. We've been mapping this issue. We think we have a lot of it. At the very least, we can tell you there's a high likelihood, and we can tell you how to get that checked out.
Yeah, and again, we will be following this until its very conclusion, I'm sure, because again, that's our...
You're still going to be our journalist for WSAU in 7 years.
You called me a journalist.
Oh. What am I supposed to call you?
I digress. Anyway, as we mentioned earlier, shared revenue, obviously.
Indeed.
That was a big topic on Thursday.
Yep.
A new deal tentatively agreed to between Governor Evers and the Republicans. What does this mean for Wausau?
It's huge. It is huge. And I think that for maybe 30 seconds, the governor and the Republican leadership in the legislature should celebrate for a second, because it's huge. It's a huge change to how we fund cities and towns and counties. And it's a big deal. And we've been advocating for this for ever. So it's a big deal. It's exciting. I know that, I have friends on the left who are still unhappy about this budget process, and they're not even celebrating this. And, I get it. It's, you want exactly what you want, and it's hard to compromise. But I think that's what we're seeing here is compromise. And I think that for ordinary Wisconsinites who maybe are sick to death of politics, they're going to be pretty pleased by this, or maybe they'll be unaffected, which is also in general fine. But for Wausau, the last figures I saw, we would get just under $1 million more for our general fund, which is a big deal. We'll be able to pay for our firefighters. We'll be able to do some of those expansions that we have with the police department, having our outreach coordinator. So it's good. It's good for us. I know that there's some discussion about schools. So you'll have to talk to the school district about what they think, but I do know that $1 billion more are going to K through 12. It's a big deal.
And you mentioned $1 million for firefighter, paramedic positions, police.
Yep.
I mean, is that kind of at the top of the list right now as to what this money could be used for? Because that does fall under the purview of what Republicans kind of said, hey, let's make sure this gets used for that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that whenever I was talking to legislators about this, they asked, what would you use the money for? Because, we get complaints about some of the things, development or whatever it is. But largely, we hired 12 new firefighters. and we have a federal grant for 3 years, but we are figuring out and planning for what we do after that. We're gonna have to pay for 12 firefighters, so we're gonna need that money. We have the outreach specialist we partially paid for with ARPA funding. There's a lot going on that we can use that for, and I think largely it will go towards our big spending departments, and that is police, fire, and public works.
And that's, I would say, probably at least the bare minimum of what taxpayers would expect out of their city. That, and of course, pothole-free roads as well.
I don't know if that's I know that's the expectation.
Right.
But I don't know if that can be the reality. We were just talking about that. How do we tear up every single road in the city to just like redo it? But,
A lot of money, and very carefully as well.
Yeah,
But yes. One more thing before we let you go. I know it's actually coming up for discussion later tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, at Human Resources Committee. You're proposing a new full-time employee here at City Hall as a community outreach specialist, basically a PR person for the city. Tell us about why you're bringing this forward.
Yeah, so, it's been 3 years of me being here, and, during COVID, I largely could do a lot of communicating, but the expectations are a little bit different right now, and, we have media reaching out all the time to react to a variety of things, and I can't get to it, and the expectation to lay that at the feet of department directors, while sometimes they're able to do this, it's a lot of work. And we also have a brand new website that we are getting ready to launch. So there's a variety of reasons, even in our strategic planning, they were shocked to find out that we don't have, a communications person here. So that's the goal. We want to have somebody here so that can help us keep our website updated, respond timely to media inquiries, help direct some staff here. A lot of these department directors are really experts in their field, but communication isn't necessarily one of those things. So making sure that we're all kind of giving the right responses to media and timely. I think that's the thing. If you've tried to reach out to me, maybe you're one of the lucky ones that gets in touch with me regularly, although you schedule pretty ahead of time.
Right.
But it's complicated, and a lot of us are just orbiting the city. So
yes.
Hoping we can do better communicating with our community.
Yes, and of course my own interest in that aside being, hey, I can get a response from Mayor Katie in a timely manner on my deadline, which is 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know.
But yes, again, I am one of the lucky ones, it seems sometimes. That's, exactly what we're expecting, because we're in a sense playing on the same team here. We want to get that message out. We want to get the wording correct. People call us because they want to know what's going on, and we've got to have that communication.
Yeah, and your medium is a little bit different because it's radio. The expectation is that you have voices, but there are other media outlets that regularly reach out via email, and they want their response via email, and it's really hard for me to sit down and write that response, and they deserve that response too. So, if it's a 15-minute interview, it's one thing, but it's going to take me an hour to respond to 12 different questions. It's a completely different thing.
Right. And then the other part of this then would certainly be marketing the city as well, because that's certainly something that's on your mind, growing the city, getting Wausau's message out there as to why this is a great place to do business and grow your brand. And I'm sure that's part of it as well.
Maybe. I'm really focused on making sure that the community has a resource that they can trust to give them the facts in a timely manner. So, marketing, yes, love it, want it. But largely, I really need somebody who can get the facts out, gather the facts, assemble a team to quickly respond to questions and concerns. I think that's what I'm looking for mostly. We got marketing, we got the CVB, we have the Community Foundation and their, marketing person. I need somebody who can give out the facts and assemble those for inquiries.
And one more thing then before we let you go.
Surprise question.
Yes, indeed. Bull Falls Brewing for sale. Again, just wanted to run through why it was that the city had to get involved with this, because it's got something to do with an agreement that was signed with the brewer long before you or I were in these positions.
Yeah, so 16 years ago maybe, they created this agreement. They have a special TIF district, all of these things. And so that's why the the city is involved at all. And, we're listed as third on their as their financiers. So Basically, we're telling them, and this is what the finance committee approved, like, yep, go ahead and sell. We will hope to recover our costs based on that sale. Not even hope, we expect to recover our costs. So hopefully we have somebody who's interested in investing in our community that buys it and wants to continue and grow, but we'll see.
All right. Well, we always appreciate the time, and we'll look forward to chatting again next month.
Have a great weekend.